Hi there, I'm Alex from Southern Ukulele Store, and I was recently having a conversation with Flight, and they said that the most common question they get asked is how you change the strings on bridge pin ukuleles. I've got one here that's a bit poorly. It's missing a string, one pinged on the wall, as sometimes happens in a shop. But today I'm going to take the time just to walk you through how you restring these kinds of ukuleles. So first things first, you're going to want to remove the bridge pins and the old strings. The bridge pin is an interesting thing to talk about though. So the bridge pin has a groove in it, and you are likely to use that to guide the string upwards across the neck, but I'll show you that in a moment. For now though, I'm going to get rid of the old strings, remove the bridge pins. There's lots of ways you can do it, lots of tools on the market. Lots of companies, probably Flight, make a string winder which will have a stump puller on the end to help you get the bridge pins out. I like this D'Addario Pro tool. I'm not endorsed by them, it's just what I use on my bench at the shop. But some people just like good old-fashioned long nose pliers, and what they would do is they would just put that in the bridge pin and pull it out. But before you do that, you're just going to want to actually detune the current strings so they don't fly out and hit you in the face. So let's do that. So I've loosened the strings off now, they're not going to fly away. I'm going to use this clever tool now. In fact, actually, I'll do it with something that you're more likely to see in your every kind of average guitar shop, the standard kind of string winder. And what you do is you use the stump pulling motion, you get it underneath the bridge pin. See if I can get closer for you. You get it underneath the bridge pin, so in this motion. And then with your thumb, you would rest on the other side, and then you try to firmly pull the bridge pin out, which I've done here in one beautiful motion, if I do say so myself. And then we do it again with the next one. It can take a few attempts, it can take a little bit of brute force. I'll just show you this D'Addario tool that I use actually. So it's got a little switch that brings out the stump puller, so you put it over the bridge pin and then you pull tight and it pulls it out. So lots of different things on the market that do the same job. The next thing we need to do is remove the old strings. So this can also be a little bit difficult. You might need to slacken off the strings that are currently on there a little bit more. Then with Flight ukuleles, when you pull the string out of the bridge for the first time, it might be very, very tight. And that's because they've made a very big knot in the end of the string to get it in there in the first place. So they've actually tied a ball end onto this. These ball ends you can find normally at craft shops in bags for about £1, a couple of euros. And you can use that. I prefer just to do a big double knot in the end of the string. I'll show you what I mean with the other end of this string. So when I'm doing it, I don't ever use a bead, but I completely understand why some people do. I just make as big a knot as I can, and then before it's too tight, I do a second tie and pull it nice and fat. And actually you might even want to use the pliers to get the purchase on the string. But that double knot does exactly the same job as your little ball end there. So now we've gone through the rigmarole of taking the old strings off, which is, I think, the most traumatic part. We're going to restring this ukulele. We're going to use my strings, which is a set of Ukes of Alex low D strings. Flight themselves use a nylon kind of string on a baritone. My experience with ukulele strings, my 15+ years of working with them, nylon and baritones go together great. The longer scale of a baritone and a nylon string make for a thicker sound, and also just a nice tension that's a little bit spongy. So we're going to try and replicate the factory strings, and the best strings for the job I have here at my store are the Ukes of Alex strings. So I'm going to show you now how to fit a string to a pin bridge of a baritone ukulele. So do you remember a moment ago I showed you about the bead in the end of the string against the ball end? We're going to do that motion again. So I have here, hopefully you can see, I have here the D string of this baritone set. We are going to loop, we're going to tuck, and we are going to pull. But before you get too close to the knot being fully tightened, we are going to tuck the string back in to make a double knot, and then with your pliers, pull very, very tight. And what we end up with there is a nice fat chunky double knot that's going to fit really nicely inside this bridge. I have my bridge pin here. This bridge pin has the groove. You line that up with the string so that it's facing up the neck, and you push firmly, and you should hear some clicking. This is supposed to be a really tight, snug fit. I did that with one hand. It wasn't too aggressive, but it was firm because I want this bridge pin to stay in. Lots and lots of people, that's the mistake they make, and then when they tune it up to tension, it flies out. The bridge pin needs you to tell it who's boss, okay? Tell it who's boss. So what do we do at the other end? Well, let's turn the ukulele so you folks can see. It might take me a take or two because I'm not used to doing it this way around for other people's benefit. You don't go straight through the whole of the machine head. Instead, you feed the string over the machine head. Try and put it in the nut slot if you can for guidance. And then you loop around and under so that when you're done, before you put the string through the hole of your machine head, it's already wrapped around the post. That's going to give it more bite. And then you feed the string through the hole, retrieve it at the other side, pull it through, pull it tight. Not so that the ukulele is going to fly off your workbench at home, but just pull it tight and firm so that at the end, when you pinch the string, you can pick the entire ukulele up in one motion. And then what we do is the bit that everybody finds boring. We find a string winder, or we use our hands, and we tighten the string up to pitch. And you do the reverse boots are made for walking sound. Rather than going down, it's going up. And until all four strings are on, you might find that the ukulele buzzes a bit when you make that noise because you need all four strings to pull the neck up to the appropriate point. And once you're pretty much there, I would, for now, just tuck the string end away. I wouldn't cut it off at the end, but if you are going to cut it off, get as nice and close as you can to the end of the machine head or the point where the string ends. And then with a pair of wire cutters, give it a little cut off. It looks nice and clean. I'm going to repeat that motion now a couple of times and we'll be back. If it's been a while since you last restrung your ukulele or you're restringing it for the first time, I highly recommend just conditioning the fingerboard slightly. They can look quite tired quite quickly, particularly in the summer here in the UK. I find that fingerboards dry out very, very quickly. Something I'm using at the moment for that is something called Cup of Joe. There's lots of things like this on the market, but it's basically like a Vaseline oily kind of material. We also use orange oil. This is the Ukes of Alex orange oil, but there's so many different products on the market, and just give the fingerboard a bit of a massage with something that will rehydrate the wood. And this is the time to do it before you put all the strings on. We're on the last string now, and I thought it'd be a really good opportunity to go through this again with a slightly thinner string, because you might find that just pushing down the bridge pin isn't always going to give you everything you need. So I'm going to do this double knot like I normally do, and I'm going to tighten it with the wire cutters like I normally do. Although actually I will say the end of this string is slightly longer than I need, so I'm going to cut it but leave a little bit of leeway for when I inevitably mess it up, which at some point will happen to all of us. So don't even worry about it. So you feed the string in. It's not always going to click into place. I bet this one won't. Bit of click. But just when you're pulling the string up to tension, keep your finger on the bridge pin. So I'm keeping it on all the way up so that I know exactly what I'm dealing with. You pull it down. It's not up to tension yet, but you just hold your finger on there whilst you tune the string up. So I'm holding my finger on that bridge pin and then with the other hand I am pulling the instrument up to pitch, and that'll just stop it from flying across the room. Another method people use, one of my guys here at Sus uses masking tape. He'll put soft tack masking tape over the bridge to stop bridge pins flying off. That's a good trick, but just some kind of pressure applied will go a really long way in stopping you from having magic flying bridge pin syndrome, which is what so many people have. So I'm going to give this one a tune up for you now and just prove to you that all these tips and tricks work. There's your pin bridge design. I really hope that answered all of your questions. If not, you know where to reach me. I'm at the Southern Ukulele Store in Bournemouth, England. But thank you so much to Flight for inviting me to do this for all of you folks at home. I really hope it gets you back playing your ukuleles. Take care.